Hello everyone and welcome to a mobile edition of Rob's video blog. So, Jussie Smollett, what is going on? Holy Lord, that whole thing. I'm not actually going to get into too much detail about that because that's just a complete debacle. Just a summary for those who don't know, Jussie Smollett is an actor for the show Empire, and essentially he faked a hate crime. He paid two Nigerian guys to beat him up and put a noose around his neck and supposedly yell like "Welcome to MAGA country" or something like that. Anyway, he faked a hate crime in Chicago, and now he's not getting punished for it. His case is getting sealed so that nobody can see the details of the evidence, but pretty much all the evidence has been brought out anyway. And so, aside from that, the thing that amazes me is that even after all this, and listen, whoever the prosecutor is in Chicago is giving him a sweetheart of a deal. They let him get off with like community service. And listen, like, it's not a violent crime. Like, he didn't kill anyone. Realistically, I mean, what did he do? He paid people to beat him up. And he's the one who looks like a jackass at the end of the day, right? It's obviously not good to let people get away with faking hate crimes. You can't just let people do that. But from a priority standpoint, whatever. It's nobody else's lives are really directly affected by it. So, whatever. It is what it is. That's not really what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is, even after this whole ordeal, you would expect him to kind of come out, and he's not admitting that he's guilty, which you wouldn't expect, because God forbid anybody admits that they screwed something up. He's not admitting he's guilty, but on top of it, even though it's so blatantly obvious that he did it and that he faked it, he's still playing the victim card and claiming that, I was consistent with my story through the whole case, I'm a victim, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, which is like completely insane. I would have expected him to come out and say something, not to admit it, because like I said, nobody's going to admit, because God forbid anybody have any integrity. I wouldn't expect him to come out and admit that he, hoaxed everything, made the whole thing up, or staged the thing rather. But I would expect him to kind of say, look, this has been awful for me. It's been a terrible experience. I'm focused on my career and what's next for me, and I want to move forward and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. That's typically what you see from someone, where they just kind of ignore the issue at hand and say, look, I'm putting it behind me. I want to move forward. End of story. That at least would have some kind of semblance. He's not acknowledging, guilt. But he's also not maintaining innocence, because Jesus, so this is to me a larger issue. Well, not an issue, but it just proves my point why I don't trust pretty much anyone who's an actor or performer. I know I'm painting with a broad brush, but specifically very talented actors and actresses. And why is that, Rob? Well, let's think about what an actor and an actress does for a living. They pretend to be and do things that they aren't. They do it so well that they get paid to the tune of millions of dollars. So they are literally the best in-person liars on the face of the planet. That's what they're doing. Okay, now they're not, they're deceiving you. They're pretending to be and act like someone that they're not. And if you've ever met someone who's like just wholly fake and puts on a show, and oh God, it's brutal to be around them, because it's so transparent when they do it. Because you can tell that's not really who they are. They're not being true to themselves. It's gross to be around those people. But if you get somebody who's so talented at it and so good at it that they just fool everyone all the time, you have a Hollywood actor or actress. For the most part, they're good actors and actresses. So that's why I don't trust anything that comes out of Hollywood. And like I said, listen, are there some honest people in Hollywood? I'm sure there are. But just the nature of the job, that kind of stuff rubs off on you. Listen, if you're an executioner and that's your job, you're not a soft, nice, kind, cuddly, empathetic person. It's just not. And if you were, and you became an executioner, and you continue to be an executioner, I know this is an extreme case, it's going to wear on you, and you're going to become callous to pretty much everything. So, yeah, it's just, when you see these sorts of things, now something came out about A-Rod cheating on Jennifer Lopez, and Jose Canseco called him out on Twitter, and it's just like, my God, these people they're just like totally nuts. They're completely out of control. But again, you got like two guys who were like probably some of the most driven people. You know, they were at the pinnacle of their careers at some point. You know, they would do anything to win. Both of them big-time juicers, would do anything to win. They're hyper competitive. And, you know, I mean, like, if you think that that kind of personality doesn't manifest itself in other aspects of their lives, you have no clue. I would ask you to read a book on psychology, or just, I don't know, live in the world and just sit on a park bench and watch people and see how they interact. But yeah, so that's I don't trust people in Hollywood. I people who perform, or who their job is to kind of pretend to be something else. I think that's kind of why I've always thought, you know, people have said to me, hey, you'd be good in sales. You know, you're a pretty personable person. You know how to speak well, communicate well. You're very convincing. You deliver a message with authority and conviction that people believe me, even when I talk about stuff that I don't know anything about, which I've, you know, cut down significantly as I've gotten older. When I was a kid, I would do that all the time. But people would believe me because I deliver a message with authority and conviction. So people have always said I'd be good at sales, but at the same time, I would be good at sales if I was selling something that I really believed in. Some people are good at sales to sell, you know, newspaper ads, sell, you know, newspaper subscriptions, magazine subscriptions, you know, pest control contracts, and like all sorts of weird stuff. And I'm like, that I could never get excited about and really get behind. I think I could be good in sales if I really believed in the product. So I just, it doesn't mesh with my personality. It really doesn't. I can't. I'm not a very good lie. I mean, I can tell white lies pretty well, but I can't tell real lies, and certainly not for a long time. I could never. It's just not who I am. It'd make me feel weird. It would be so obvious that it wasn't the truth, just because I would act so differently. So yeah, I don't trust people in Hollywood. Other performers, singers, stuff like that. It's kind of a similar type of thing, to a much lesser extent, but they all kind of rub elbows in the same social circles. And you know, if you get along with people who are kind of sociopaths, or you get along with people who just pretend to be something that they're not, or pretend to be somebody else for a living, you're gonna end up being similar to them, or like them, or their character traits are gonna rub off on you. So that's about it for now. I'll see you again next time.